Dr. Elena Martinez stared at the screen in front of her. The numbers did not make sense. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked again. The same strange pattern was still there. Elena worked on a big research ship called the Meridian. For 15 years, she had been studying the genes of different alien species. She had looked at over 200 different types of aliens from all across the galaxy. Each one was different and amazing in its own way. Her lab was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines. Dr. Kevin Brooks sat at the next table, working on his own samples. Lisa Park was at her computer, checking data from their latest discovery. They were a good team and had made many important findings together. Elena turned back to her screen. Today, she was comparing human DNA to all the alien DNA they had collected. It was supposed to be a simple check. She wanted to see how humans were similar to, or different from other species in the galaxy. What she found shocked her. Every single alien species had something special in their genes. They had natural safety, systems that kept their cells healthy forever. These systems stopped their DNA from breaking down. They prevented aging. Some aliens could live for thousands of years because of these genetic gifts, but humans were different. Humans were the only species that had what looked like a death timer built into their genes. Elena called up the data on her main screen. She looked at the Valthani first. These tall, graceful aliens lived for over 3,000 years. Their DNA had special sequences that fixed any damage automatically. Next, she checked the Corvin Empire species. These strong, warlike aliens could live for 2,000 years. Their genes had multiple backup systems to prevent aging. She went through species after species. The crystal-based Zephyrians lived forever, unless they were physically destroyed. The plant-like Verdani could regrow any part of their body and never aged. Even the smallest creatures they had studied had some form of genetic protection against death. Then she looked at human DNA. Humans had telomeres. These were like tiny clocks at the end of each strand of DNA. Every time a human cell divided, the telomeres got shorter. When they got too short, the cell died. This happened in every human, everywhere. It was built into their very nature. Elena felt cold as she realized what this meant. Humans were designed to die. She double-checked her work. Maybe she had made a mistake. Maybe she had missed something. But after 3 hours of careful analysis, the results were the same. Every other species in the galaxy had natural immortality, or very long life. Only humans had a built-in death switch. "Kevin," she called to her colleague, "can you come look at this?" Kevin Brooks was a tall man with kind eyes. He had been studying alien molecules for 10 years. He walked over to Elena's station and looked at her screen. "What am I looking at?" he asked. Elena pointed to the data. "This is a comparison of aging mechanisms across all known species. Look at the human column." Kevin studied the numbers. His face slowly changed as he understood what he was seeing. "This can't be right," he said quietly. "I've checked it 3 times, Elena replied. "Humans are the only species with genetic aging built into their DNA. Every other species has natural protection against cellular breakdown." Lisa Park heard their conversation and came over. She was young but very smart with computers and data analysis. She looked at the screen and frowned. "Run the analysis again," Lisa said. "Use different human samples. Maybe we got bad data." Elena nodded. She pulled up genetic information from humans all across the galaxy. Humans from Earth, humans from Mars colonies, humans from space stations far from any planet. She ran the analysis on all of them. The results were the same every time. "We need to tell Captain Torres," Kevin said. Elena saved her work carefully. This discovery would change everything humans thought about themselves. It raised terrible questions. Why were humans the only species designed to die? Was it natural evolution, or had someone done this to them on purpose? The three scientists walked through the corridors of the Meridian. The ship was huge, home to over 500 researchers and crew members. They passed other labs where scientists studied alien technology, alien languages, and alien cultures. None of them knew what Elena had just discovered. That Captain Ryan Torres was in his office reviewing supply reports when Elena's team arrived. Torres was an experienced spacer who had been in charge of the Meridian for 8 years. He trusted Elena's work and always listened to her findings. "Captain," Elena said, "we've made a discovery that you need to know about immediately." Torres looked up from his papers. He could tell from Elena's serious expression that this was important. "What did you find?" Elena explained her research. Carefully, she showed him the data on her portable screen. Torres listened without interrupting. As Elena finished her explanation, the captain sat back in his chair. "You're telling me that every alien species lives much longer than humans because of their natural genetics?" Torres asked. "That's correct," Elena said. "But it's more than that. Humans appear to be specifically designed to age and die. Our DNA contains sequences that guarantee death within a certain time frame." Torres was quiet for a long moment. He understood the implications. If this was true, it meant humans were either a mistake of evolution or someone had deliberately made them this way. "How confident are you in these results?" he asked. "Very confident," Elena replied. "We've tested samples from across human space. The pattern is consistent in every single human." Torres stood up and walked to his window. Outside, stars stretched in all directions. Somewhere out there were hundreds of alien civilizations, all blessed with near immortality. And here were humans, apparently cursed with built-in death. "We need to keep this quiet for now," Torres said finally. "Elena, I want you to expand your research. Find out everything you can about these genetic differences. Kevin, Lisa, you're both assigned to this project full-time." Elena nodded. "What should we look for specifically?" "Find out if this is natural evolution or if someone did this to us," Torres replied, "and find out why." As the three scientists left the captain's office, Elena felt the weight of their discovery. They had stumbled onto something that could change humanity's understanding of itself. But she had a feeling this was just the beginning. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a new question was forming. If someone had deliberately put death switches into human DNA, what else might they have hidden in human genetics? And more importantly, were they still watching to make sure those switches stayed active? News of Elena's discovery spread faster than anyone expected. Within 2 weeks, the Galactic Research Consortium had received copies of her data. Soon after, alien governments across the galaxy began sending messages to the Meridian. Elena sat in the ship's main conference room with Captain Torres and his senior staff. On the large screen in front of them was Ambassador Jitar of the Valthani Empire. The tall alien's blue skin seemed to glow softly as she spoke. "We are deeply saddened to learn of humanity's genetic burden," the ambassador said in her musical voice. "The Valthani have always wondered why humans live such short lives. Now we understand the tragic truth." Captain Torres leaned forward. "Ambassador, do your people have any knowledge of how this might have happened to humans?" "We have theories," Jitar replied carefully. "Perhaps it was a cruel twist of evolution. The universe can be unkind to developing species." Amy Sullivan, the ship's communications officer, was taking notes on everything the ambassador said. Something about the alien's tone seemed odd to her, but she could not put her finger on what it was. After the call ended, another message came in. This time it was from General Vexhai of the Corvan Empire. The large, gray-skinned alien appeared. on screen wearing his military uniform covered in medals. "Humans have always been brave warriors despite your short lives," the general said in his rough voice. "The Corvin Empire wishes to help. We have advanced genetic therapies that could extend human lifespan." "That's very generous," Torres replied. "What would you want in return?" "Nothing but friendship between our peoples," Vexai said. "We could begin treatments immediately on volunteer subjects." Jake Bennett, the chief engineer, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The offer seemed too good to be true. In his experience, when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. Over the next few days, more aliens contacted them. The Scion Collective sent a representative who claimed their mental powers could help unlock human genetic potential. The Trader Federation offered to share their medical technology. Even species that rarely talked to humans suddenly wanted to help. Elena was working longer hours than ever. Captain Torres had given her a bigger team to help with the research. Dr. Alex Carter, a geneticist from Earth, had been transferred to the Meridian. Dr. Samantha White, who studied how species evolved, joined them from another research ship. "Something strange about all this alien interest," Elena told her expanded team during their morning meeting. "Why do they all suddenly care about helping humans?" Alex Carter looked up from his genetic scanner. "Maybe they genuinely want to help. Some of these species have been friendly with humans for decades. Or maybe they know something we don't," Samantha White said quietly. She had been studying evolutionary patterns and was finding some puzzling things. "I've been looking at how fast different species evolved. Most aliens developed their genetic protection slowly over millions of years. But humans seem to have developed these death switches very quickly." Elena frowned. "How quickly?" "According to the fossil record, humans went from having normal genetic aging patterns to having telomeres in less than 50,000 years. That's impossibly fast for natural evolution." Lisa Park looked up from her computer. "I've been analyzing the genetic sequences themselves. The death switches in human DNA are too perfect. They're too precisely placed. It's like someone designed them." Security. Chief Nathan Price had been quietly listening to these discussions. As head of security for the Meridian, he was trained to notice threats. And right now, everything about this situation felt like a threat. "Captain," Nathan said during their private meeting that evening, "I think we need to be careful about all these helpful aliens. Too many species are suddenly interested in human genetics." Torres nodded. "I've been thinking the same thing. What's your recommendation?" "I think we should quietly increase security protocols. And maybe we shouldn't be so quick to accept alien help with genetic research." Meanwhile, Dr. Claire Robinson, the ship's historian, was digging through old human records. She had access to databases from across human space, including some very old archives from Earth. What she was finding made her increasingly worried. "Elena," Claire said, appearing at the genetics lab late one night, "I think you need to see something." Elena looked up from her microscope. "What did you find?" Claire activated a portable screen and showed Elena some very old text. "These are records from ancient human civilizations. Many of them have stories about sky gods who came down and changed humanity. Mythology," Elena said. "Every species has creation stories." "Maybe," Claire replied. "But look at this. This text is from ancient Sumerian tablets. It talks about beings who shortened the days of men so they would not rise too high. And here's another one from ancient Egypt about gods who bound the life force of humans." Elena studied the texts. They were thousands of years old, but the descriptions were eerily similar to what her genetic research was showing. "There are dozens of these stories from different human cultures," Claire continued. "All of them talk about powerful beings who deliberately limited human lifespan." Troy Adams, the long-range communications officer, knocked on the lab door. He looked worried. Dr. Martinez, I think you should know about some unusual activity I've been monitoring, Troy said. Multiple alien fleets are moving toward human space. They're not together, but they're all heading in the same direction. What kind of fleets? Elena asked. Research vessels, mostly, but some military ships too. They're from different species: Valthani, Corvin, Scion, and others. They all claim to be coming to help with genetic research. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. How many ships? Over 100 from various species, all converging on human colonies. Elena called Captain Torres immediately. When he arrived at the lab, she showed him everything they had discovered. The genetic evidence that humans had been deliberately modified. The historical records of ancient interference. The current alien fleet movements. Torres studied all the information carefully. You think the aliens know more about this than they're telling us? I think some of them might have been involved in creating the problem in the first place, Elena replied. Samantha White pulled up a new analysis on her screen. Captain, I found something else. I compared human DNA to our closest evolutionary relatives. The genetic changes that created our death switches happened right around the time humans started developing advanced technology. What do you mean? Torres asked. The modifications to human genetics occurred approximately 50,000 years ago. That's right, when humans began showing signs of advanced tool use, art, and complex language. It's as if someone wanted to limit human development just as we were becoming truly intelligent. The room was quiet as everyone processed this information. If Samantha was right, then someone had deliberately sabotaged human evolution at the exact moment humans were becoming a spacefaring species. Elena looked around at her team. We need to be very careful about who we share this information with. If some alien species were involved in modifying human genetics, they might not want us to figure out the truth. Torres nodded grimly. I'm going to quietly alert other human colonies about the incoming alien fleets. And Elena, I want your team to focus on one question. Is there a way to reverse what was done to human genetics? You want us to try to remove the death switches? Elena asked. I want to know if it's possible, Torres replied. Because if aliens can modify our genetics to limit us, maybe we can modify them back to free ourselves. As the meeting ended, Elena realized they were no longer just doing research. They were potentially preparing for humanity's liberation from millions of years of genetic slavery. But first, they had to survive whatever the incoming alien fleets had planned for them. The discovery that changed everything came from an unexpected place. Dr. Ben Foster and his archaeological team had been exploring an ancient structure on a dead planet called Kepler 442c. The planet had no life, but it was covered with strange ruins that were millions of years old. Elena, you need to see this. Ben's voice crackled over the communication system. He was calling from the surface, while Elena worked in her lab aboard the Meridian. Elena switched to the main screen so her whole team could see. Ben was standing inside what looked like a vast library. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. We think this is a Forerunner site, Ben explained, but it's different from any we've found before. Dr. Rachel Stone thinks the symbols are some kind of historical record. Rachel Stone appeared on screen next to Ben. She was the team's expert on ancient languages. The symbols are telling a story, she said excitedly. It's about the creation of life in the galaxy. Elena leaned closer to the screen. What kind of story? It talks about a species called the Architects, Rachel replied. They seem to have been responsible for seeding life throughout the galaxy millions of years ago. Dr. Marcus Reed, their best translator, had been working day and night to decode the symbols. His voice was tired, but full of excitement as he joined the conversation. Elena, this is incredible, Marcus said. The records describe how the architects designed each species with specific traits. They gave the Valthani their grace and long life. They gave the Corvin their strength and endurance. Each species was crafted for a particular role in the galaxy. What about humans? Elena asked, though she had a feeling she knew the answer would be important. Marcus paused, looking at his translation notes. Humans were different. According to these records, humans were the architect's final creation. They were designed not with limitations, but with unlimited potential. Elena felt her heart racing. What does that mean? The records say humans were made to adapt, to grow, to become anything they needed to become, Marcus continued. The architects called humans their ultimate creation, a species with no built-in limits. Dr. Samantha White, who was listening from Elena's lab, spoke up. Then why do we have the death switches? Why are we limited? Marcus looked uncomfortable as he read the next section. Because the architects realized they had made a mistake. They saw that humans, if allowed to reach their full potential, would eventually become more powerful than any other species in the galaxy. The records say humans could become masters of reality itself, if not contained. The room was silent. As everyone processed this information, Elena felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. So they added the kill switches? Elena asked quietly. Not just the kill switches, Marcus replied, reading further. They built in multiple limitations. Shorter lifespans, susceptibility to disease, genetic aging, even limits on how strong and smart humans could become. The death switches were just one part of a larger containment system. Ben Foster moved his camera to show more of the wall symbols. There's more, Elena. The records show that this containment system was designed to be permanent. The architects wanted to make sure humans would never break free from their limitations. Elena stared at the symbols on the screen. Each one represented millions of years of human suffering and death, all because an ancient species had been afraid of what humans might become. Is there anything about how to remove these limitations? She asked. Rachel Stone checked her notes. The records mentioned something called the Liberation Protocol. It seems to be a way to reverse the genetic modifications. But the instructions are in a section we haven't fully translated yet. Captain Torres had been listening to the entire conversation from his bridge. His voice came through the communication system with unusual intensity. Dr. Foster, I'm ordering your team to translate every symbol in that facility. Dr. Martinez, I want you to prepare for the possibility that we might soon have a way to free humanity from genetic slavery. As the archaeological team worked around the clock to translate the ancient records, Elena's genetics team prepared for what might come next. They studied human DNA with new understanding, now knowing that every limitation they found had been deliberately placed there. Dr. Alex Carter made an important discovery while examining genetic samples from space-born humans. Elena, look at this, he said, pointing to his analysis screen. Humans who have lived in space for multiple generations are showing changes. Elena studied the data. What kind of changes? Their telomeres are longer. Their cellular repair mechanisms are more active. Some of them are living significantly longer than Earth-born humans, Alex explained. It's like the genetic modifications are starting to fail in low-gravity environments. Dr. Kevin Brooks joined their discussion. That makes sense. If the architects designed the limitations for Earth-like conditions, they might not work as well. In space, Elena realized this was crucial information. How many space-born humans show these changes? About 30% of third-generation space dwellers, Alex replied. And the changes seem to be getting stronger with each generation. Meanwhile, Dr. Claire Robinson had found additional historical evidence in human records. Elena, I've been comparing the ancient texts to what we're learning from the Forerunner site. The timeline matches perfectly. What timeline? Elena asked. The ancient stories about sky gods limiting human lifespan all date to approximately 50,000 years ago. That's exactly when the Forerunner records say the architects implemented the containment protocols, Claire explained. Lisa Park looked up from her computer with an alarmed expression. Elena, I've been monitoring communications from the alien fleets approaching human space. I think they know what we've discovered. What do you mean? Elena asked. Encrypted transmissions between Valthani and Corvin ships. I can't decode them, but the transmission frequency has increased dramatically since Dr. Foster found the Forerunner site, Lisa explained. Elena felt a chill of fear. If the modern alien species knew about the architect's work, they might be working to keep humans contained. Troy Adams confirmed her worst fears. Elena, I'm picking up more alien ships. They're not just research vessels anymore. These are warships from multiple species, all heading toward human colonies. Captain Torres called an emergency meeting of all senior staff. Elena and her team gathered in the main conference room, along with all department heads. Based on what we've learned, I believe we're facing a crisis, Torres began. It's possible that some alien species have known about humanity's genetic limitations. All along, they may have been working to keep us contained. Security Chief Nathan Price stood up. Captain, I recommend we go to full alert status. If hostile alien fleets are approaching human space, we need to warn our colonies. Agreed, Torres replied. But we also need to continue the research. If there's a way to free humans from these genetic limitations, we need to find it fast. Elena nodded. The archaeological team thinks they can have the Liberation Protocol translated within 48 hours. If the Forerunner records are accurate, we might be able to reverse millions of years of genetic modification. Torres looked around the room at his staff. Then we have 48 hours to prepare for the possibility that humanity is about to change forever. And we need to be ready for whatever the aliens do to try to stop us. As the meeting ended, Elena returned to her lab with a new sense of urgency. Somewhere in the ancient Forerunner records was the key to unlocking humanity's true potential. But first, they had to survive long enough to use it. The next 2 days would determine whether humanity remained a genetically enslaved species, or finally broke free to become what the architects had originally intended, the most powerful species in the galaxy. Commander Nicole Parker had been trained to find hidden threats. As the Meridian's intelligence officer, she knew how to spot patterns that others missed. What she discovered in the alien communications made her blood run cold. Captain Torres, Nicole said as she entered his office with a datapad in her hands. We have a problem. A big one. Torres looked up from the reports he was reading about the approaching alien fleets. What did you find? Nicole activated her datapad and showed him a series of communication logs. I've been analyzing the encrypted transmissions. Between alien ships, I managed to break some of their codes. Torres studied the translated messages on the screen. His face grew darker as he read. They've been working together, Nicole continued. The Valthani, the Corvin, the Scion Collective, even species we thought were friendly to humans. They've all been part of a secret agreement to keep humanity contained. Elena burst into the captain's office without knocking. Dr. Scott Anderson and Peter Young were right behind her. All three looked excited and worried at the same time. Captain, we've made breakthrough discoveries, Elena said breathlessly. The Liberation Protocol has been translated, and we've found something terrible about the alien conspiracy. Torres gestured for everyone to sit down. Nicole was just showing the evidence that multiple alien species have been working together against humanity. What did you find? Elena pulled up her own data on a portable screen. The Forerunner records contain detailed information about what happened after the architects disappeared. Other species found their technology and learned about the genetic modifications done to humans. Scott Anderson leaned forward. Captain, the aliens haven't just known about our limitations. They've been actively maintaining them. What do you mean? Torres asked. Peter Young answered. Every medical advancement the aliens have shared with humans has been designed to reinforce our genetic limitations. The Valthani healing crystals don't just cure diseases. They strengthen the telomere degradation process. The Corvin genetic therapies actually make our death switches more efficient. Elena felt sick as she explained further. For centuries, alien species have been offering us helpful medical technology, but it's all been designed to keep us weak and short-lived. They've been making sure we never accidentally overcome our genetic programming. Nicole added her own findings. The communications I intercepted mentioned something called the Final Protocol. If humans ever discover the truth about their genetics, the aliens plan to activate this protocol. What does it do? Torres asked. Complete elimination of all human colonies, Nicole replied grimly. They've apparently been preparing for this possibility for a long time. Elena showed Torres the translated Liberation Protocol from the Forerunner site. Captain, this contains instructions for reversing all the genetic modifications done to humans. But it's not just about removing the death switches. According to these records, humans were designed to be incredibly adaptable. We can survive in environments that would kill other species. We can become stronger, faster, and smarter than any known alien race. Torres studied the information carefully. How long would it take to implement this protocol? We could create the genetic therapy in about 12 hours, Scott Anderson replied. But Captain, once we use it, there's no going back. And the aliens will know immediately what we've done. Meanwhile, engineer Tim Foster and pilot Susan Clark had made their own disturbing discovery. They had been checking the Meridian systems when they found something that should not have been there. Captain, Tim said over the communication system, you need to know about this. Someone has installed remote access systems in our computers. Torres frowned. What kind of remote access? Susan Clark answered from the ship's docking bay. Sir, it's not just our ship. I've been talking to other human vessel captains. Many of our ships have been secretly equipped with systems that can be controlled remotely. Controlled by who? Torres asked. By alien governments, Tim replied. The access codes are built into technology we received from supposedly friendly alien species. If they activate these systems, they could shut down our engines, disable our weapons, even control our life support. Elena realized the full scope of what they were facing. Captain, this conspiracy goes back centuries. The aliens have been systematically weakening humanity while making us dependent on their technology. They've been preparing to eliminate us. Whenever we got too close to the truth, Nicole pulled up more intercepted communications. It gets worse. The aliens have been monitoring human genetic research. They know about every discovery we've made. They probably knew we would eventually find the Forerunner site. So this is all a trap? Torres asked. Not a trap, Elena said. More like a final test. I think they've been waiting to see if humans could discover the truth on their own. Now that we have, they're implementing their final protocol. Peter Young had been analyzing the Liberation Protocol while they talked. Captain, there's something else. The genetic therapy doesn't just remove our limitations. It unlocks abilities that the architects originally built into human DNA. What kind of abilities? Torres asked. Enhanced physical strength, increased. Intelligence, resistance to radiation and disease, ability to survive in low-oxygen environments, Peter explained. Humans were designed to be the ultimate survival species. Elena added, the Forerunner records suggest that humans, once unlocked, could eventually develop abilities that seem almost supernatural. Advanced healing, enhanced senses, maybe even telepathic capabilities, Torres was quiet for a long moment. Outside his window, he could see the stars where alien fleets were approaching human space. He knew that in the next few hours, he would have to make a decision that would change humanity forever. How many human colonies could we treat with the Liberation Protocol? He asked. Scott Anderson checked his calculations. If we work with other research ships and medical facilities, we could probably treat about 10% of human space in the first week. But Captain, once we start, the aliens will know. They'll activate their final protocol. And if we don't start? Torres asked. Then humanity remains genetically enslaved forever, Elena replied. And eventually, the aliens might decide we're too dangerous to keep alive anyway. Nicole showed Torres the latest intelligence reports. Captain, the alien fleets will reach human space in 18 hours. Whatever we're going to do, we need to decide now. Torres stood up and walked to his window. In the distance, he could see the lights of human colonies on nearby planets. Millions of people who had no idea they were genetically modified slaves, living shortened lives because an ancient species had been afraid of human potential. Elena, Torres said finally, how confident are you that the Liberation Protocol will work? Very confident, Elena replied. The Forerunner records are detailed and precise. But Captain, once we release humans from their genetic limitations, we'll be starting a war with most of the galaxy. Torres turned back to his team. Then we'd better make sure we're ready to win that war. Elena, begin production of the Liberation Protocol immediately. Nicole, send coded warnings to all human colonies about the incoming alien fleets. Tim, start working on ways to disable the remote access systems in our ships. Elena felt a mixture of excitement and terror. In a few hours, they would begin the process of freeing humanity from millions of years of genetic slavery. But they would also be declaring war on species that had kept humans contained for millennia. Captain, Elena said as the meeting ended, there's one more thing. The Forerunner records suggest that humans, once liberated, won't just be equal to other species. We might become more powerful than all of them combined. Torres nodded grimly. Then let's hope we can handle that power responsibly. Because after tonight, humanity will either be free or extinct. Alana's hands shook as she prepared the first dose of the Liberation Protocol. In her lab, the genetic therapy glowed softly in its container. This small vial contained the power to free humanity from millions of years of genetic slavery. Are you sure about this? Dr. Kevin Brooks asked as he watched Elena work. No, Elena replied honestly, but I'm sure about what happens if we don't try. Captain Torres had volunteered to be the first test subject. Against the protests of his medical staff, he insisted that if anyone was going to risk the unknown effects of genetic liberation, it should be him. Dr. Lara Evans, the ship's medical officer, monitored Torres carefully as Elena administered the injection. Vital signs are normal, Lara reported. Heart rate slightly elevated, but that's probably just nervousness. For the first few minutes, nothing happened. Torres sat on the medical bed, looking exactly the same as before. Elena began to worry that the ancient protocol might not work. Then, Torres gasped. Captain! Lara rushed to check his readings. His cellular activity is increasing rapidly. DNA repair mechanisms are activating throughout his body. Torres felt a strange tingling sensation spreading through his entire body. It was not painful, but it was definitely intense. I can feel something changing, he said. Over the next hour, the changes became obvious. Torres's gray hair began to darken. Lines around his eyes started to fade. His posture straightened as decades of minor aches and pains disappeared. This is incredible, Elena whispered as she watched the transformation. His telomeres are regenerating. His immune system is rebuilding itself. It's like his body is remembering how it was supposed to work. But the physical changes were just the beginning. Torres found that his thinking was becoming clearer and faster. He could process information more quickly than ever before. His senses were becoming sharper. He could hear conversations from other parts of the ship and see details that had been blurry before. "Captain," Dr. Alex Carter said as he studied the readings, "your genetic structure is completely rewriting itself. You're becoming something new." Word of Torres' transformation spread quickly through the ship. Crew members volunteered eagerly for the treatment. Elena and her team worked around the clock to produce enough doses for everyone aboard the Meridian. Meanwhile, the alien fleets were getting closer to human space. Nicole Parker's intelligence reports showed that over 300 alien warships were now approaching human colonies. "Captain," Nicole said during an emergency briefing, "the aliens are demanding that we turn over all research related to human genetics. They're claiming it's for our own protection." Torres, who now looked 20 years younger and moved with fluid grace, smiled grimly. "Tell them that humanity is no longer interested in their protection." Elena had been working with programmer Carl Davis, physicist Dr. Annie Lewis, and military strategist Colonel Frank Taylor to distribute the Liberation Protocol as widely as possible. They had managed to send the genetic therapy to 12 human colonies before the alien fleets arrived. The first reports from treated humans were astonishing. Not only were they living longer and getting healthier, but they were displaying abilities that seemed impossible. Enhanced strength allowed them to lift objects that would normally require machinery. Improved reflexes made them incredibly fast. Some were even showing signs of resistance to radiation and toxins. "Elena," Dr. Tom Wright called from his analysis station, "you need to see this report from the Mars colony. The humans we treated there are adapting to the thin atmosphere. They're actually breathing more efficiently than before the treatment." Kate Phillips, who had been monitoring the treated populations, added her own observations. "The genetic therapy isn't just removing limitations. It's unlocking evolutionary potential that's been dormant for millennia." Dr. Andy Cooper, their theoretical specialist, had been studying the long-term implications. "Elena, if these changes continue, humans could potentially survive in environments that would kill any other known species. We might be able to live on worlds with no atmosphere, extreme temperatures, or high radiation." The alien response was swift and violent. The Valfani ambassador's previous kindness disappeared completely when she contacted the Meridian. "You have made a terrible mistake," Ambassador Jaitar said, her blue skin now seeming cold rather than beautiful. "Humans were contained for good reason. You have unleashed something that will destroy the galaxy." General Vex High of the Corvan Empire was more direct. "Surrender now and submit to genetic reconditioning, or face complete annihilation." Torres, now feeling more alert and capable than he had ever been in his life, responded calmly. "Humanity declines your generous offer. The first battle came at the Proxima colony. Alien ships attacked human settlements, expecting easy victory against the weak, short-lived humans they had always known. Instead, they found humans who could survive in vacuum without suits, who could lift debris that would crush normal people, and who could think and react faster than any alien species. The colonists fought back with a ferocity that shocked their attackers. Humans who had been treated with the Liberation Protocol could survive direct hits from energy weapons that should have been fatal. They could operate in environments where aliens needed protective equipment. Captain Ron Garcia, the ship's intelligence chief, reported excitedly. "The Proxima colony has successfully repelled the alien attack. Our people are reporting minimal casualties, while the alien forces suffered heavy losses." Holly Wright, the communications director, was coordinating with other human settlements. "Sir, reports are coming in from across human space. Every colony that received the genetic therapy is successfully defending itself. Elena was amazed by how quickly the changes were spreading. Captain, the Liberation Protocol seems to be triggering dormant genetic sequences throughout the human population. Even people who haven't received the direct treatment are starting to show enhanced abilities. Torres nodded. It's like the genetic modifications were fighting against our natural state. Now that we've removed the blocks, our bodies are remembering what they were originally designed to do. The real surprise came when the alien fleets tried to use their remote access systems to disable human ships. Tim Foster and his engineering team had been working frantically to counter the alien technology. "Captain," Tim reported with a grin, "the remote access systems aren't working. The genetic changes in our crew seem to be affecting their ability to interface with technology. It's like our enhanced mental capabilities are creating some kind of interference." Elena realized this was another hidden aspect of human potential. "Captain, I think humans were designed to be naturally resistant to technological control. The architects might have built in protections against exactly this kind of manipulation." As news of human victories spread throughout the galaxy, other species began to panic. The Scion Collective, whose mental powers had always made them feel superior, discovered that liberated humans were developing telepathic resistance. The crystal-based Zephyrians found that humans could somehow disrupt their energy matrices. Species that had dominated the galaxy for millions of years suddenly found themselves facing creatures they had always considered weak and primitive, but who were now displaying abilities that surpassed their own. Elena stood on the bridge of the Meridian, looking out at the stars. In just a few days, everything had changed. Humans were no longer the weak, short-lived species that other races had pitied or ignored. They were becoming something new, something powerful. "Elena," Captain Torres said as he joined her at the window, "what do you think happens next?" Elena considered the question carefully. Around the galaxy, humans were awakening to their true potential. They were stronger, smarter, and more adaptable than any species had ever been. But with that power came responsibility. "I think we're going to have to prove that the architects were wrong," Elena replied. "They were afraid that unlimited human potential would be dangerous. We need to show the galaxy that humans can handle their true capabilities responsibly." Torres nodded. "And if the other species won't accept us as equals?" Elena looked at the readings from across human space. Every day, more humans were breaking free from their genetic limitations. Every day, they were becoming more capable of surviving and thriving in environments that would kill other species. "Then they'll have to accept us as their superiors," Elena said quietly, "because we're not going back to being slaves." In the distance, alien fleets continued to approach human space, unaware that they were no longer fighting the weak, contained species they had always known. They were now facing humanity as the architects had originally designed them, the ultimate survivors, with unlimited potential and the will to use it. The age of human containment was over. The age of human ascendancy had begun. Elena smiled as she watched the stars. For the first time in millions of years, humans were truly free, and the galaxy would never be the same.